So today's session is about designing and provisioning workloads. Hello everyone, I am Sonali Deshpande. I'm a cloud solutions architect at Capgemini India. First of all, I would like to thank Women Tech Network for giving me this opportunity. This is my first time ever experience as a speaker in global conference, and really want to thank Anna and team here. I'm a cloud solutions architect having experience in cloud assessment and transformations and infrastructure as a code libraries. Yeah. So we are in today's cloud first world, and enterprises are moving towards gearing towards app modernization or cloud native approaches, and they have significant footprint of their highly business critical applications which require faster time to market, speed, agility, etc. So especially post pandemic, what we see is cloud market is rapidly growing, and businesses wants to be agile, bring value to the infrastructure and cost optimization and increase productivity. As I said, cloud migration strategies are mostly gearing towards application modernization and refactoring, then the standard lift and shift approach. And the top trends impacting the cloud adoptions are the cost agility, portability, multi-cloud strategies to avoid vendor lock-in, etc. So in this scenario, how do we standardize and automate the deployment of infrastructure and platform? How to leverage infrastructure as code libraries or a configuration as code libraries to represent the target state of platform? That is the ask here. Okay, so let's take a pause and let's take a look at the problem statement in details. Yeah. So when the enterprise start their cloud transformation journey, they start with DC exit or a data center exit kind of a scenario. When they start initially, they have less confidence in the public cloud in terms of securing the workloads, and they opt for a private cloud strategy. As and when the maturity increases, and they come to know that you can still manage secure workloads in public cloud, they go for a mono cloud strategy and a hybrid cloud model. Yeah, some data on the on premise and some landscape in the Azure or any of the cloud providers. Yeah. um, Over an experience with these single cloud provider, they now decide to move on to a multi-cloud scenario, where they want to give a solution for their business continuity, disaster recovery kind of a sort of solution, because there are certain services may not be available at one hyperscaler in one region, and they want to take benefit of those kind of things. Also, in terms of cost optimization, cost negotiation, and also to avoid the vendor lock-in kind of a scenario, they can get into a multi-cloud and a hybrid scenario. Let's look at the workloads of the enterprises, those different types: a compute workload, a web workload. Compute workload comprises of infrastructure kind of a workload where you have your virtual machine storage, where you have to configure the compute memory, CPU, RAM, and also in terms of storage, you have to configure your disk and different storage services. Workloads, web workloads, you will have your apps, app plans. You might have integrated, databases or storage with the web workloads as well. Batch workloads, this again falls in the compute category. Serverless workload, where we are seeing, function as a service model. And now with the latest cloud optimized and native platforms, we have Kubernetes or containerization as one of the workload category. Let's look at our application deployment view. We need to have the mechanism to deploy our applications as well as infrastructure platform to their different environments. The development, testing, staging, and prod. Similarly, with application, we have different environments, and we need to move to the productions. That's the end goal. Yeah. Likewise, we have, if it's not only enough if we have applications automated deployed, their platform also go in line with the application. Yeah. And on top of this, we also have to adhere to the different SLAs like cost, agility, uptime SLAs, faster time to market, etc. So we are talking about here a multi-cloud, multi-tier scenario and cloud adoption. And in these complex scenarios, how do we achieve end-to-end automation? So building that strategy is a very important aspect for a successful cloud transformation or a move to cloud program. So that's the ask here. I have moved to the next slide, and what you can see is the strategy accelerators and how we can achieve the end-to-end automation. So building a successful strategy, understanding the type of application and its integration with its peripheral system, that is going to help us build the well-architected decision framework. So we start with categorizing our enterprise applications into different categories here, like as you can see on the screen, portal. So your web application workload can go into the application and the component catalogs of portal and web front. You can have web services, microservices kind of a thing into services, transactional application types. Then you have integration, storages, SSIS, SAS kind of applications into a business intelligence stack. Then you can have batches as your one of the application category. Then comes your deployment models, yeah, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, container as a service, and a function as a service. Then we have the modernization criteria that needs to be defined, yeah. So we have a modernization criteria like performance, elasticity, security, high availability, cost reductions, agility, improvements and innovations, and easy to migrate. So how do we map? Let's take an example of portal and web front. So we have a standard vanilla web application, for example. Yeah, the variant could be having a content management system, an integrated WordPress or a Drupal or any content management system integrated. One more variant of this could be web server fully managed and then the integrated database, MySQL kind of a database with it. And then when we say mapping these modernization criteria across the deployment model, so let's take an example of performance. When we say performance as a modernization criteria, we can provide a solution in the deployment model of infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, container as a service, but we may not go for function as a service where we want to carry out a specific compute or a workload operation. Yeah, performance could not be a criteria there. Maybe load is one of the criteria we can address, but performance will be better handled in the infrastructure or a PaaS or a CaaS kind of a scenario. Then when we take an example of high availability, yeah, so PaaS could be a suitable thing. Infrastructure as a service, here we need to ensure that we are designing the architectures adhering to the SLAs of the cloud providers. Yeah, so PaaS gives us the ready-to-made, 99.99% up to 99% availability SLAs. So some of the cloud providers claim to provide that kind of availability. Of course, we have to follow their best practices in terms of designing our applications and their platform with those guidelines. So what we can make use of these guidelines from the major hyperscalers like AWS well-architected framework, Azure Architecture Center, where they have clearly defined architectural patterns for your different type of workloads. Let's move on to reusability and the accelerators. So cloud providers like AWS or Azure, they provide their own infrastructure as a code libraries platforms like CloudFormation for AWS. For Azure, it is ARM templates. But when we look at it from the standardization perspective, we can opt for a tool like Terraform, which allows us to standardize the infrastructure as a code libraries using the HashiCorp common HCL languages, and also deploying these scripts onto the platforms using the DevOps kind of a pipeline. Yeah, Azure DevOps or a Jenkins tools can be used here. And Terraform tool also provides the out-of-the-box libraries for the platforms like Azure, AWS, Google Cloud, and many others. Yeah. When we talk about the configuration as code, we can look at the tools like Chef, Puppet. Those kind of tools will help us the configuration of the workloads at a scale. Yeah. So what we are doing here is we are achieving predictable and consistent in a predictable and consistent manner, we are moving towards our building a target state of the application. So we have done a careful planning of your application type. We have a guideline architecture that is in place. And then for a application that is a candidate now for moving to the cloud, we can use that model as a reference and then apply. Of course, there will be some deviation. Every application is not same, and there will be different deviation scenarios, and that at that point of time we can address them in the best possible situations. Yeah. When we say retain state of the target platform, so tools like Terraform help us to retain the state as well. Yeah. So if your specific data center is down or a region is down, and if you want to spun up that region in a fraction of seconds, we can always go back to the version, retain the state, and also deploy and spin up the platform in a fraction of second. When we say cost saving on unusable platforms, so once the dev and testing and QA are executed and those platforms are no more required, we can destroy the pipelines unwanted once our production workloads are ready. Yeah. With this overall automation, we achieve faster deployments, new feature releases in less time or within a fraction of time speed. Yeah. And we also achieve the speed here. This is the way we achieve end-to-end automation. Now let's look at one of the example here, a reference pattern for a cloud computing model for a platform as a service scenario. Let's take an example where we have to migrate the web application, which is to be taken on the Azure platform. So what we see here, different connectivity mechanisms between your on-premise and Azure. So you can have express route. For point-to-site connectivity, we can have gateways configured, and through DMZs and application gateways, you can have securely connecting to your web app. So what forms your components here? Yeah, so your application type remains here a portal or a web application, and your component catalog will be comprised of now a web app model, MySQL model, could be Active Directory, application gateway, and there could be other networking kind of components in terms of gateways, express routes, etc. But you can have these kind of infrastructure components built on hand before. What you do, what enterprises do is they define these kind of networking or the base structure in advance, and then on top of that we build our application platforms. Yeah. So in terms of AWS, maybe we can have Elastic Beanstalk and the variants of the RDS or equivalent database. Yeah. So this is the reference pattern for the cloud computing model platform as a service for a web application. Another scenario is container as a service, where we have a Kubernetes service. We have logic apps, a serverless workload in terms of Azure functions, and APIification also configured through API gateways and also the container services. We have Azure SQL databases, Cosmos DB. Those are the data storages along with the primary data storages like blob and the file storage. So all these can form a component catalog for you, and it is just a matter of following the pattern and then picking up these components from your libraries and building that platform architecture for a specific application which is moving to the cloud. I think that's about it pretty much. I am here to take questions now if you have anything. So thank you everyone. I will sign off from the session now. Thank you once again, Women in Tech Network, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.